Hi, I'm here with Rajiv Bedse, and I'm here to do an interview with Rajiv for Can't to Can. So my name's Kathy Hulme, and Rajiv and I met in an online group which was to do with coaching, and I actually ended up doing some coaching with Rajiv, and I know he's really passionate about what he does, and he wants to help other people who have immigrated from other countries and relocating somewhere, which is a challenge. So I'm here to do with the interview with Rajiv. And so I understand, Rajiv, that obviously you moved from India to Australia and you had a young family at the time. So I'd love to just talk to you about your experiences. And I know you're really passionate about sharing that with other people and helping other people through that process. So can I just first ask you, how long ago was it that you actually came to Australia?
Well, firstly, let me thank you
Yeah,
for
you're
giving
welcome.
me the opportunity to be here on this show, and also Hilton Bar. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Well, I came to Australia back in 1997 with my family, and when I came here, my wife was then 37 years old. I was 42 years old, my son was 15, my daughter was 13, and we came here with practically no money as such and no jobs.
Okay.
Quite disappointingly, in the same year, we arrived here in May 1997, and I think in January 1997 the government actually stopped giving the social security allowance as well.
Oh.
So
Wow.
yeah. So we were in a situation where, we did not have job, we hardly had any money, but, it worked out quite well because my sister was living here. So
Oh, okay. So you
we
had
stayed
some
with her.
contact.
So yeah, so we had a
Okay.
little bit of support there.
So can I just take you back for a minute to, before you came to Australia? So what was life like in India before you decided to immigrate? And, why did you want to change your circumstances so drastically? I mean, it's a big step to go to such a different culture.
It was a big step, and many people said to me that why you're going overseas when you're doing so well. So when I was in India, back home in India, I was a civil engineer. My wife was lawyer. She did her actually masters in law, and she was doing
Wow.
quite well back home in India. And both my children were quite intelligent, and then they went to the convent schools back home in India. So we were kind of well settled there, and we were living with my parents. And I always lived with my parents all through my life. So my children were emotionally quite attached to my parents as well. So many people said, why are you going there? And I said, well, I'm living a good life here, but I want to live a great life.
Right.
And that's the only reason I came here.
Wow.
Because I strongly believed that my children and my family, they deserve much more than what I'm offering them back home in India. Hence the reason at the age of 42 it was very hard decision for me to make, because I had to leave my parents, and my
Yeah.
parents back then they were retired. So I was in a situation where I had to take care of my parents, but at the same time I had to look after my family well as well. But I just made that decision. I just believed in myself.
Yeah.
That I can do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a really, big thing, especially with, like you say, you're living with your parents. So to actually, take yourself away from that situation.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I found it hard coming here when, leaving my parents and my in-laws as well. But that was, we didn't live with them, so
Yeah.
it wasn't as big. So, so you made the decision, and you navigated all the red tape and all the things that you had to do to get here, to come to Australia. So what was the biggest challenge you faced when you actually got here?
Well, the first challenge before me was to leave my parents there in India, because my parents were, I think when I came here, my dad was 68 or 70 years old. My mom was about 66. And then I was coming to a whole new country, whole new world. It's a Western world. So, most of the immigrants who come from that part of the world, the biggest challenge they face is the cultural shock.
Yeah.
That was my first challenge. The other challenge I had was financial insecurity. So these two were the main challenges. So regardless of how strong I was in terms of thinking that I will succeed in Australia, I still had to go through and face all those challenges anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what do you think was the lowest point for you once you were here in Australia, and how did that feel?
Well, the fact was, when I came here, I thought basically because I was working in civil engineering back home, I thought because of the Sydney Olympics, I will have much better prospect in this country in terms of getting a job. But when I arrived here, I just found out that the infrastructure in Australia was all ready. So there were not many jobs for
Yeah.
civil engineers. Again, the structure here works differently than back home in India. So when I came here, the Australian people or the Australian government and the employers, they wanted me to do a course, at least a diploma, a full-time diploma of 3 years.
Whoa,
in-
full-time for
in-
3 years.
in civil engineering, which was not possible because my priority back then was to survive
Yeah, and to bring some money in.
and to bring some
yeah,
money in.
Yeah,
So I was in that particular situation. Now my wife, even if she was highly educated, there are some different sets of rules in Australia, in different states. So she would have to go to Adelaide and then study a course of Australian constitutional law for about a year and then serve in that state for at least a year. And it wasn't possible for me to have two establishments because I did not have any money. So finally she decided to give up her career and sacrifice it for the sake of children. And then we started our new life, a whole new life here in Melbourne.
right. Wow.
So that was a low point because when you come overseas, you come here with an idea that you are highly qualified.
Yeah.
Obviously you will get a job after going there, but that it doesn't work that way. Because here in Australia the employers want you to have an experience in the local conditions, which is fair enough because this is a different culture, and this is actually I coach my clients now that when you come to Australia, don't have the expectation that you will get the same level of job
Yeah.
here in Australia as you had back home in India or anywhere in the world
Yeah.
for that reason, because it's
Yeah.
a different culture. People want you to blend in that culture. Not only the social culture I'm talking about, but I'm talking about the work culture as well.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you don't blend in the work culture, because every company has got a different culture. So the company that you are working for or working with, if you don't blend in that culture well, they don't want you here. And that is the biggest challenge I had initially when I came
Yeah.
here. And to be honest with you, when I was back home in India, I worked with one organization for 20 years.
Right. Yeah.
So I did not have much experience of appearing for the interviews. I did not
Yeah.
have a good resume. I did not have a good cover letter. No interviewing techniques at all. And that is what I coach my clients now.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And I know you also mentioned to me that it was quite challenging. I mean, well, there's two things. One thing was that, you were very aware that your wife made this big sacrifice to give up her career, and that must have been hard for you. And also the fact that, it was quite hard for your children as teenagers to adjust to a completely different culture.
It certainly was. It was harder for my daughter because back home in India, the culture and the atmosphere in the schools is much different than here. There, you have very very high respect for your teachers, and in India, in a country like India, or you take any other country from the one of those Southeast Asian countries, education is your big priority. It's your top priority. So you really have to focus and study hard there. And that is what my children were used to. So when we came here, it was, for them it was a big change. So my daughter used to, she used to cry a lot, and she used to say, well, have we made the right decision?
Oh, that must
But
have been really hard.
It was extremely hard.
Just pause.
Is it good?
Right, well, Well, we've just had to move, a little bit of noise.
That's okay.
But we'll just continue where we left off. So you were talking, Rajiv, obviously about the challenges that your daughter had, and you'd said that, you know, she was really upset and at times and was thinking, you know, you'd made the wrong decision. So how was that for you and your wife, and how did you move through that challenge?
It was a very challenging time for us because, you know, children were our priority. So we came here only for the sake of children. And it was important from our point of view to make sure that the children are happy here. So my wife actually sacrificed her career, and she started, well, she was looking after the children since we came here, but then she said, well, in these conditions, I do not want to pursue my career anymore. So she, she stayed at home and she started looking after the children. She only looked after the children. Now, it so happened that when I came here, or when we came here, my son was in year 11 and my daughter was in year 10. So they were the most important years of their life, being the VCE.
For the studies.
For 11th and 12th. So from that point of view, it was very important for us to look after them well and to support them with, you know, the culture and with the cultural shock and all the challenges that they were facing as well. So the one advice that I gave to my daughter, which I would like to give to everyone who is migrating to Australia, is to be like a drop of oil in water. So you have your own identity, but you are separate, you are different, you are unique, but you still blend with the water.
Oh, okay. Oh, what a great analogy.
And that really helped my daughter. And then she started taking it very positively, and then it takes a while for anyone to settle in Australia and to actually blend with the culture.
Yeah.
But then once she did that, she was extremely happy and she never looked back. And same with my son as well. I mean, both my children went to public schools. I did not have the money to send them to private schools, but they did extremely well at year 11, year 12, and hence the reason they got into Melbourne Uni, which was their top priority, or the first preference. They wanted to go to Melbourne Uni, and they both went to Melbourne Uni because my son got some 94% at year 12, the inter school, the VCE, and my daughter got 98.
Wow,
so
that's amazing.
They both.
And do you think that your wife being there to support them fully made a big difference to them?
It made a huge difference, and this is what I say to people who come to Australia now. Is many times it's a subjective decision, and I don't force my decisions on my clients. But to me, what is more important is to come here with your family.
Yeah.
Even if you struggle a lot, you have to go through all the challenges. But there's a lot of fun in going through the challenges as a family together, as opposed to the husband coming first and the children and the wife following later. Because when they are back home, they have no idea what challenges you are facing here.
Yeah.
And then you have kind of progressed with facing the challenges, and when they come here, they have no idea.
Yeah.
So,
and I know, this is one of the things that I love about you when we were working together as well, is that you are really passionate about getting that message across about the whole family can actually support each other and grow together in this challenge and in this process of this, relocating in a different culture and all the rest of it.
Yes.
And it can be a really positive thing for the family if they can achieve that together. Then you can become closer.
It certainly is. It helps a lot. It certainly helps a lot. I mean, many times people ask me this question as to how they should come here, and I say, well, it's very much subjective. But if I was you, this is what I would do, because this is what I have done, and I have been successful here. And I don't have any regrets of coming here as a family altogether. To be very honest with you, I would never be able to live by myself. I'm such a family person that I always wanted my children, my wife to be with me. And the only thing I was missing after coming to Australia is my parents.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I could not bring them here on the kind of visa that I came here. We all came here on a permanent visa. But for my parents, it would have taken us much longer if I would have to bring them here. So we decided to come here first. And then, when I came to Australia, I only made 2 resolutions. My first resolution was not to go back to India defeated. And the second resolution was, whatever it takes, I will get my parents across.
Okay.
And I did that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite an amazing story. So might come back to that. So in all of these challenges, with your family and finding jobs and all of those things, was there anything that you had to deal with sort of personally that held you back, like, whether it be confidence or limiting beliefs, or, was there anything that you had to deal with?
I did not have so much of a limiting belief as such, but of course, when you migrate to a new country, you always have negative emotions, such as, you don't know what's going to happen, the fear of unknown, the fear of failure. It's always there, but there are ways how you deal with them.
So how did you deal with that?
Well, the first thing that I did is that I embraced fear.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's something you talk to your clients about as well, isn't it? Embracing the fear, yeah.
Just embrace fear. And once you embrace fear, fear is something, it's very funny. It's like, holding on to a person. When you hold on to a person, that person cannot leave you. It cannot go away. So when you embrace fear, you become so confident, you become so bold that, you're not scared of fear anymore.
Right, yeah.
So, once you start embracing fear, because what I realized is that if I have to succeed in a new country, I have to get over these negative emotions. I did not have any limiting belief as such. I always believed in my abilities. When I was back home, even before I got the visa, I still remember the days when I used to go for jogging then. And when I used to go for jogging, I used to say to myself loudly so that I could hear it, that I want to do this for me and for my family. So my family was my top priority. And so those positive, the affirmations, they were so strong in my head that I did not have any limiting beliefs. All I had is the fear of unknown. And when I came here, I just said to myself, well, this is a new country. I'm not going to go back defeated, and I need to change my attitude. And the way I did it is that I kept saying to me that I want to succeed in this country. Like Robin Sharma in one of his books, he says that you succeed in life only when your back is against the wall.
Yeah.
That is when you succeed. Or he said you burn your boats.
Yeah, and it's like you were saying, you made that decision, you were not going to go back to India defeated, so you had, not giving yourself a way out.
Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
decided you were going to go forward.
Absolutely. So you take the responsibility of everything that happens in your life, and once you start taking the responsibility, then there is no one else to blame. Only you are to blame yourself. And that you become accountable to your own actions.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So do you think there was a turning point, a particular time or a particular thing that happened that was the turning point that made you feel, yes, I'm, over the hardest part, and I know that I'm going forward, and I know that we're on the right path now?
Well, the turning point to me was, when I came here, back home, because I came from the civil engineering background, I did not find a job. I could not find a job in civil engineering. So, I started by door knocking. If I was back home in India, this is something that I would never ever do in my life. I did not have to. But here I was in a situation that I had to survive and I have to feed my family, I had to bring, bread and butter on the table. So I started on knocking people's doors. And I never looked back from there. And these were the skills which are, sales-related skills. I never was in sales back home. I was coming from the engineering background. So I had to learn all those skills. And in the first year, I struggled. And I struggled like anything because I had to develop at the age of 42, coming from the engineering background and wanting to develop the new skills. It took me a while. But, when I did that, I became the number one salesperson in the company. I
have to say that's absolutely amazing because, from what I know, my dad's an engineer, retired engineer, and I know that type of vocation is very much focused on, the detail and not so much about people and reaching out. Yeah. And the sales is just completely the opposite.
It is.
So that's an amazing transformation that you had to go through to be able to be that successful in sales.
But that is what life is about, Kathy. Because when you are in your own profession, you become complacent. I worked there for 20 years, and I realized after coming here that success is just outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to go outside of your comfort zone. You cannot be a butterfly by being in the cocoon. You have to break the cocoon, and only then you can become a butterfly.
You certainly did that.
That's what you did. Well, I had to do that.
Yeah.
I did not have a choice.
Yeah.
So I had to do that. But I did that. And then I did it willingly. Because now here I was, that I wanted to not only survive and sustain in this country, but I wanted to give the best possible education and the best facilities and the privileges to my family. So I was willing to go to any to that extra mile.
Yeah.
To do something for my family.
Wow.
And I did it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So with all of that process, was there any particular people or influences or things that you came across that helped you, in that transition with, the job that you had to do and everything else that you had to deal with?
Yeah, that's a great question, because because I come from a country like India, I always had the mentality of saving money, which is not a bad thing. So you always want to save money. But I did not realize the difference between being a miser and a frugal person.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. And when I realized that, then I started investing in my own future. Because then I took up some courses.
Right.
Then I was working with you for some time.
Yeah.
And that really helped me. I mean, you have been such a, one of the, you asked me about the turning points. You were one of the turning points in my life.
Oh, wow.
Because that is how it worked, and this is what I really realized, that if I have to do something in my life, if I have to get some returns in my life, I have to invest somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And like we know that there's a price that you have to pay for everything in life, and nature demands that you have to pay the price first, and in advance.
Yes.
And in full.
Yes.
So there's nothing like getting the rewards without investing. You only get the returns for something when you invest in something. And that is what I learned. So I started investing in my own personality development, in my personal development, in my own evolution. Because the one thing that I realized is whatever I do, whatever sacrifices I make for my family, I'm not going to be able to, earn their respect as much as I would from becoming a different person.
Yeah.
So when I evolve, when my personality evolves, I become a different process when I'm going through that phase in my life and making all those sacrifices. So my children, I was just talking to my daughter once, and I said, well, I did not get any chance, or I did not get much time to spend with you, even back home, because I was working like anything. I used to leave home at 6 o'clock in the morning, come back at 10 o'clock at night, 6 days a week. And even after coming to Australia, I said, now the challenges are different, the priorities have changed. And she said, Dad, don't worry about it. Because she said, we have been watching you.
Oh, right, yeah.
She said, when we were growing, we were watching you. Don't worry about the fact that, you did not sit with us and you did not, get us to study or something like that. But she said, we were watching you. And we were watching in the way that, I always thought, and this is what she said, I always thought that your actions spoke louder than your words.
Yeah.
So we knew how hard you were working back home, or even after coming to Australia. You started changed your career altogether and started a new career, and then you learned all the new techniques related to sales and customer service and business development and kind of things. So, that is how you earn the respect of your family.
Yeah.
So it is the person that you become in
so
the
it's
process.
obviously had an effect on them to see that you made those sacrifices to come here for their sake, and that you had to develop those skills and go through that transformation yourself. That must be have quite an impact on them.
It certainly was, and by doing that, what you actually are doing is you are setting up an example for them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So they look at you as a role model, and that is what I mean,
Yeah, that's great. So what else was I going to ask you? Well, you've answered this question a little bit. It was, what personal characteristics did you learn or strengthen because of the experiences? And I guess you've answered that in a way that, and you've obviously talked about, developing new skills and investing in more personal development. Was there anything else that that you wanted to comment on with that?
Well, I became more persistent, I suppose. I was a
Yeah.
persistent person even before, but now I became more persistent, and I started learning new skills after coming here. Not only skills related to my profession, but skills related to my personal development as well. And I took up some courses. I started investing money in buying some nice books, and reading Robin Sharma and Brian Tracy and Jim Rohn, listening to their audio programs
Yeah.
and things like that. And then that really changed my life to an extent that my mentality, the way I think, has absolutely changed. And I take responsibility for everything that I do or everything that happens in my life. If something is not working in my life, then there is no one else is responsible, because
Yeah.
now it is not the poor me mentality anymore.
Yeah, and I think that makes a huge difference. I mean, that was one of my big learnings as well. I think you can come from that sort of poor me victim mode,
Yes,
and then
yes.
when you realise it's all your responsibility, it does change, because you start searching for the things that you need that are going to help you and change your thinking. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Kathy, Australia is a great country. I always believe that, since I came to Australia, I have been to so many places in the world. My daughter lives in the United States, so I travel to the United States quite regularly. And I've been there quite a few times, and I've been to Europe, and I've been to New Zealand, and, so many places. But I strongly believe that, Australia is the best country in the world, and we live in such, high-class atmosphere here and world-class living here, which I really feel so great, and I feel blessed about it. And that this is the kind of these are the kind of privileges and atmosphere I wanted to give to my family.
Yeah.
And this is what I say to people, people who are coming to Australia. I say to them that yes, there will be challenges, but the rewards will be much higher than the challenges that you go through if you are persistent enough and stick to your goals and your higher purpose. To me, having a purpose in life is important.
Okay. So Rajiv, you mentioned a sense of purpose, which I know is something that I really believe in as well. Do you think that this whole experience of changing countries is something that's actually strengthened your sense of purpose, because you've had to go through all these challenges and really know what your purpose is?
Yeah, so let me answer this question by saying this. Purpose is one thing. So purpose is like you having your ambition in life, or mission in life. But when you work on your purpose, actually your actions are done selfishly. When you are reaching your goals, for example, you are doing it only for your own self. But then I found out that there is something beyond the purpose, which I call as higher purpose.
Right.
Now, higher purpose is something which is beyond your own self. I'm becoming a little bit spiritual here, but I wanted to do it that way. So when you have your higher purpose in life, then you are doing it something for someone else, not just for yourself.
Yeah.
And those actions then are done selflessly.
Yeah.
And the more you do something selflessly, that will really bring peace and joy and bliss in your life. And that is the transformation I made. Because I did not want to come to Australia just for the sake of myself. I wanted to come here, and I always give this as an example to the new immigrants. Don't just come here to Australia just for the sake of yourself, because you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to achieve this. As opposed to that, if you make your higher purpose, or if you make your children as your higher purpose, then you have something different to strive for, which is much higher than your own self. And that, I think, makes a lot of difference in people's lives. Because when you start doing it, it gives you immense satisfaction and a sense of fulfillment, accomplishment, I believe.
And I think it ties back into what you said before about being able to have that journey with the whole family, because if you've got that purpose, then you're more likely to bring them into the decisions and the, solving the challenges and working together on it. So it ties back to what you were saying with that as well.
So my purpose now is, when I came here, my higher purpose rather, were my children. Now my higher purpose, my children are all, they both are married, they both are highly educated, and they both are settled in their life. Now my higher purpose is my wife. and or my higher purpose can be helping others.
Yeah, which
who
I
are-
know you want to do. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So when I talk to people, this is what I say to people, that I'm not doing my business just as business. I mean, preparing resumes, cover letters, and all those kind of things. They're just a small part of my business.
Yeah.
What I would do really is I try and connect with them heart to heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is when they see the passion in what I do. And I really want to see them. I don't want to see them struggling so much in Australia. I want to see them succeeding quicker than before.
And is part of that, or a big part of that, I imagine, is about helping them become a new person. Like you've got sort of like the old you, and you've got the new you that you've become through all the development that you've done, and helping other people sort of have that transition is something that you can obviously help them with, and
Absolutely
becomes a priority.
And for that to happen, Kathy, you need to make a big mindset shift. Hence the name of my program is Big Shift Blueprint.
Right.
And I teach my clients exactly what I have done, what I have gone through, what has really helped me. So it is not something that they are learning from internet or by doing a Google search.
Yeah.
This is coming from my own experience in my life, how I face the challenges in life. And I always say to people, typically when my clients now, when I'm dealing with my clients, when they come to Australia, they are in the age group of 25 to 35.
Right.
So they are pretty young. And I say to them, if someone like me can come to Australia at the age of 42 and survive, sustain and succeed in Australia, without a shadow of doubt, anyone in Australia can succeed and can soar high. But you just need to have that persistent, and you need to bring that mindset shift. Typically when people come from overseas, they have no idea about Australian culture, they don't know about the Australian circumstances, the situation, the laws, the values and kind of things. So you need to bring that mindset shift. So when I coach my clients, I have actually designed a set of 10 mindsets, 10 different mindsets. We don't have time to go through all that here. But one of the mindset is, I tell people that, when you come to a country like Australia, words like exploitation, discrimination, or recession, they do not exist in your dictionary. If they do, you will not succeed here.
Yeah, because they're focused on that. They need to focus on
Exactly.
what they can do.
They're only focusing on the negative sides. I mean, if I'm good enough, then people will want me, regardless of whether I come from India, I come from UK like you came here, or I'm coming from Canada. So I say to people, make yourself so indispensable that people will not be able to ignore you, and that is what you like.
And then backing up that is obviously for them going to be self-belief.
Yeah,
To have that self-belief to back that up and go through with that.
absolutely. And typically when people come from overseas, they are kind of in their comfort zone, and this is what I would love to tell you. I was a different person back home because I worked for one organization for 20 years, and many people who come to Australia, they have worked with one organization for a long time. But when they come here, they face all the new challenges, and then the transformation that has taken place within me is I became, initially I was I was in my comfort zone, so I switched myself from comfort zone to now success zone. What I mean that is that now I'm facing so many challenges. I never changed my job so many times in back home in India that I changed after coming to Australia, because I wanted new challenge in my life, and here's the reason I changed my jobs. So now I'm willing to change new jobs, tackle new challenges. And it's a new game for me now.
Wow. Yeah.
I hope that is making sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. So, what's the one top piece of advice do you think you would give to people who are facing that transition, especially into a completely different culture?
I would say to people, when you come to Australia, you have to make sure that you change. You bring about that mindset shift.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number two is that when people come here from overseas, it's good to pursue a job in your own profession, in your own career. But if you do not get a job, if you do not get the job, don't worry about it. start by doing a job.
Yeah.
Because when you start doing a job in Australia, that gives you a lot of power and confidence and self-belief that yes, I can do a job in Australia. Now I'm earning money in Australian dollars. And you at the same time you're gaining the experience in working in Australian conditions. It motivates you, it improves your, it increases your confidence level, your self-belief, and then use that as a stepping stone
Yeah.
to get the job in Australia.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a stepping stone. It's the first step
Exactly.
that you need to take for lots of different levels, financial, confidence, all those things you mentioned. So it's a stepping stone in
Yeah.
all those areas.
Because what happens is normally when people say, for example, someone who has worked overseas in IT, he comes to Australia and he starts looking for a job in IT. The first thing that I realize when I look at their resumes is 9 out of 10 times their resumes are not up to the mark. They're not up to Australian standards. They do not have any interviewing skills. They do not have a proper cover letter. Now these are the most important financial documents in your life that you can own. In the absence of having these documents done properly, you're not going to get a job. Let alone getting a job, you're not even going to get called for an interview. That is the reality. And people come here, they stay here for 2 months, 3 months, and they're still struggling to get an interview, and they do not know the reason why, what is not helping them, or why they're not getting a job in Australia. Many a times it is just not about the interviewing skills and the resume kind of things, but it's more about their subconscious mind and the limiting beliefs that they have developed from conception till they turn 5 or 6 or 7 years old. Now they don't even know that. Many times it's about self-sabotaging.
Yeah.
It's like you want something, but one part of your body is saying that you want that, and the other part saying no, you don't want it. The other part is making sure you don't get it. So people do not understand that. Hence the reason I have become a certified NLP practitioner as well, and using my techniques and the NLP techniques and also the vision creation script which you taught me.
Yeah.
That works fantastically.
Cool.
It works fabulously. So people make that change on their subconscious mind, and once that gets engraved onto their subconscious mind, then automatically they start thinking positively, and things start taking place in their life very easily than before.
Yeah.
And these are
it's a
the things that
huge
people
shift.
need to understand. Yeah, it's a big shift. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So obviously, you've talked about, you helping people and you have clients. Did you want to tell us, and obviously you've covered that you cover some practical issues with people when you coach them in terms of resume and that sort of stuff, and then obviously you're very passionate about covering the mindset. Did you want to tell us a little bit more about your business? Your
Sure.
solutions for immigrants.
Yeah. So the way I work is, I believe that there's internal world and external world.
Yeah.
Your internal world is the world of your beliefs. Your external world is the world of imperfect action. I would not say perfect action, imperfect action, but you take immediate, inspired, imperfect action. That is the external world. When you combine them together, that's when you start getting premium results or ultimate results. And I have designed a course, or I have designed my system in such a way that it works at all the levels.
Yeah.
So every human being is, we have an intelligent side, and then we have an emotional side of us, and then we also have a physical side and a spiritual side. But when we integrate all of them together, that is when you start taking the right decisions in your life, because your decisions then are based on your intuition, and they really that really takes into consideration all the angles, all the sides of your personality. And that really, in a nutshell, that I teach people, I coach in my training program. So you are taking care of your subconscious mind level problems. You are taking care of your, the problem that you face after coming to Australia. At the same time, the way I help immigrants is that many times immigrants are not aware that there are certain courses offered by the Australian government to the co-applicant. So if a family comes here, if the husband, if his qualifications have been assessed for the purpose of immigration, then the wife can do certain courses, and Australian government offers many of these courses for free of charge. So while the husband is looking for the jobs, the wife actually can complete the course, and then she becomes employable, and she starts earning money as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, when people come here to Australia, typically when they are coming from, say, for example, Indian background, I can relate to their problem very quickly because I have been through all that.
Yeah.
And then I started offering them that emotional support that they need. So I'm not looking at my business purely from the business sense of view, as a point of view, but I'm looking at my business as really, really helping someone passionately.
I know, and I know this because I know you really well, and I know that you are really passionate about helping people through that process. And I think, what I see is that you're uniquely positioned to do that because not only have you been through that journey yourself and learned those lessons and had those same challenges, but you've also upskilled yourself with knowing about resumes, with knowing about what's out there for people. And as you mentioned a minute ago, there's courses that people can take that are actually free. And who would know? Someone coming new into the country would not know that. Yes. But you've got that information at your fingertips. You've got all these resources to give to people. So, I just think it's wonderful that you've got this practical side of it, which is literally, this is how the system works. This is how you need to kind of play the game, so to speak. Yes. But also, this is what you need to do internally to strengthen yourself and to develop yourself so that you can meet all those challenges. And so I know that you're uniquely positioned to do that because you've got so much knowledge, and I know that you're really, really passionate about helping people with that. So I congratulate you on that because I know we've had lots of fun working together, and it's been great to get to know all of those things about you.
Yes.
So if there is anyone watching the video who's really keen to actually get in touch with you and learn a bit more, or maybe find out more about your course that you take them through, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Well, what I say to my clients is, many of my clients do not know me. So they find me when they do a Google search, or they find me through different mediums. So when my clients reach me, I offer them a complimentary consultation.
Right.
And that's when they start knowing me. It's an opportunity for me to know them. It's an opportunity for them to know me. And also I can then establish if coaching is the right investment at this point of time for them.
Yeah.
And then that way I can understand their problems, their challenges completely. And then through that coaching, through that complimentary consultation, then I advise them as to what can be done and what their limitations are and what we have to work on or work around.
Yeah.
So that is one way of dealing with the problems.
So if they wanted to do that complimentary consultation, do they just go to solutionsforimmigrants.com?
Yes. So they go to my website, which is solutionsforimmigrants.com. Then they apply there on my website. So there are certain icons which they can click. They can schedule a consultation online, and then I will accept their request for the consultation. And then, of course, they have many choices there. They can choose the day, they can choose the time when they want to have the consultation with me. Then I will have a Skype consultation with them, and then from there we'll take it from there. That is how it works.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's great because that just means if people are watching
and
they're interested to know more, they can go to your website, and I know you've got other things on there that they can read as well. So that's brilliant. And I guess just to finish off, is there anything else you'd like to share about your big vision for what you want to do ultimately in this great land of ours?
Well, I want people to understand how great this opportunity is, because when someone is getting an opportunity to migrate to Australia, people should really feel, and they should really think that they are really blessed to have been coming to a country like Australia. But at the same time, when you come to Australia, the picture is not rosy. I mean, I'll be lying to people if I'm saying that when you come here, like how we always say that the grass is always green on the other side. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing when you come to Australia, but the rewards are much bigger than the sacrifices that you have to make. So make sure that you're persistent. Don't give up the efforts. Don't think that immediately after you come here you'll get a job. You may not get a job. You're lucky to get a job, but you really have to be persistent. persistence pays is my is my motto in life. But and like I say, my life sentence is that you're not judged by the number of times you fail in life, but the number of times you succeed, and the number of times you succeed is in direct proportion to the number of times you fail.
Yeah.
But keep going.
Yeah.
And that is the key in life.
Yeah, yeah. And you've obviously done that. I mean, you've obviously kept going through all those.
Everyone has to go through
challenges.
that, Kathy, and I strongly believe each and every immigrant has got the ability, the potentials, the capacity to succeed in this country. And I want every immigrant, like you are an immigrant, I'm an immigrant as well, and you know how much you struggled after you came here. But you have overcame those challenges, and same thing with me. So we can succeed in a country like Australia. It's a great country to live in. It's the best place in the world, I would say. So just don't give up.
Yeah.
That's the
and
formula
then the
for
rewards
success.
are there.
Absolutely.
And you'll be a different person in the process. So
Absolutely.
you'll be a changed, better person through it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I really, really appreciate your time, Rajiv, and sharing so openly with us. It's been really, really fantastic interview.
It has been a pleasure, and it has been a pleasure working with you in the past, and I'm sure we'll keep working with each other as well. And I must thank you, and I must thank Duncan for Can to Can for giving me this opportunity. And I strongly believe that Can to Can is a wonderful website.
Yeah.
Because it not only it just not just a website, it is the website where people should go to, and people will get motivated from other people's experiences, and they will learn a lot more things than doing the things by themselves.
Yeah.
So all the best to Can to Can,
absolutely.
and to you as well.
All right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rajiv. That's great.
That's lovely.